Welcome, everyone. It's a new year, isn't it?
Mm.
And with that new year comes the proverbial resolutions. Well, resolutions should be simple. I want to change this. This no longer serves me. This is no longer my story. So I'm going to do that. Idea goes in the head. You set your mind to it. Weeks go by, a few weeks go by, a few months go by. You're back where you started from. You're either not making any progress on that resolution or you've decided, well, I'll do it next year. It's just not happening. That resolution is just not happening. Well, why isn't it happening? I'll give you the answer as soon as I briefly introduce myself. I am Teresa Palmer, and I am guest hosting on Motivational Mondays. And this is where we have deep conversations. We talk about how we could help you authentically, not just superficially, but authentically. And I'm a holistic cardiology nurse practitioner. My focus is the heart. I connect individuals to their heart, and in doing so, I connect them to being able for transformation, for lasting change, because that only happens in the heart. And by saying that, I've given you the answer of why your resolution isn't working, because you're only engaged up here in the head. You're not engaged with the heart. You have to get your head and your heart working together in order to succeed, because your heart knows the authentic you. The heart holds this wisdom, and we're not always taught that. We're taught to be up here and not connect to our heart. So when you only engage your head in a resolution, it's not going to work, because you need to believe it and you need to be doing it for you. And the only way that could happen is when you connect your heart, and you connect your heart and you connect your head, and then voila, you've got the answer. You
Mm.
believe it, you're able to do it because you're doing it for you. You're not doing it for someone else. And with that said, I'm going to have each of our panelists introduce themselves and give their insights on this, whether they agree, disagree, or what action do they take to get these resolutions meaningful, off the ground, and something that could be done, not just thought about. We'll start with you, Marissa. Introduce
Hi.
yourself. And
Hello, everyone. My name is Marisa Bludorn. I'm so happy to be here with you guys in the Own It magazine. I'm the editor in chief of Own It magazine and publishing, and I'm so excited about the new year. I just feel like there's a different air energy that is floating in 2026. I know a lot of people wanted to say goodbye to 2025 as quickly as possible, but I'm not one of those. I think that a lot of growth happened. I believe in not only looking at growth when it's all feel good, but growth also happens when it doesn't feel good. And I believe that the most growth and the most profound growth happens when it's uncomfortable. We talk about, I know that Tiffany and I are big on fitness and being in tune with your body. I know that that's the same way with you, Teresa, in regards to being in the medical field. It's very important for us to be healthy. And so the biggest advances that we make are the changes that require discipline. Right, we talked about it backstage in regards to making resolutions and values of resolutions, how important this is to someone. And I always say, you got to know who you are. You got to know what makes you tick. That's the positive, and what ticks you off. See, what ticks you off and what makes you tick are very critical in that alignment with the heart. So a lot of times I don't say heart, I always say your passion. What is that driving force? And I believe that it's a combination of mind, body, and spirit. I believe that it all has to come together in regards to that big push that says, I'm no longer going to go in this direction. I'm no longer going to act on those behaviors or those ideas. I'm now going to shift gears because it is imperative that I make changes to get results. We talked about root and fruit, and that's so important, knowing what the root of the cause is so that you understand the manifesting fruit of it. And if you don't like the fruit, if you don't like the results, you got to get so pissed off about it that you force yourself into a place of changed behavior, changed attitude, and also an adjustment of your value, your core values, and your principles. And so I'm excited about the new year because if anything should have happened in 2025 that you were not happy with, it should have ticked you off enough to say that in 2026, this shall not be. And that means that you got to change your behavior. And we talked about also too real talk, having that real conversation. Stop allowing things to be so subconscious that they're so deep down that you're not paying attention to them. Cause yourself to be what they say, what, woke? Cause yourself to be self aware. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Start paying attention to what you're doing, your environment. I always say you are the CEO of your life. Who's in your boardroom? Who are you allowing to influence you? What is the root of their influence so that you understand the fruit of that influence, and to start making those adjustments and evaluating and assessing and addressing what's not right so that you can move forward into a healthy and more balanced new year. And don't make resolutions, make changes, lasting changes. That's what I say. So it all goes back to what are your core values, what's most important to you, and having that sobering conversation with yourself. As I mentioned, I do coach, but I don't like to coach in the sense of most people in companies, organizations bank on your behavior. They bank on the fact that most people won't do what is necessary to make the changes. They bank on that. And we talk about how they've made mega bucks on just knowing that you're not going to change, right? And so when you think about, and then I'm going to pass it off to my other panelists. I haven't been here in a while, and so because I got a lot to say. But just think about this. There are so many products that are being developed, and people, some product innovators don't even care whether their products are quality or not. I'm going to do this and just pay attention to the math. If you create a product that's $5 and it's crap, but 5 million people already have purchased that $5 crappy product, that individual, that company has already made $5 million. The average person is not going to go back and ask for a refund for $5. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so folks are banking on you not caring enough about your life, your quality of life, and some of the decisions that you make because they're good with that. What we're talking about when we come on Own It is about being aware enough and starting to consciously make decisions on what your true values are and how you're going to navigate through that. And then also too, never giving up your goals, your visions, your dreams, never giving those up, making those a high priority for you and doing what is necessary for you to achieve those goals, right? And so that's what this is all about. But I want you to think about that is folks around you are banking on you not changing. They're banking on that. What really upsets them is when you do change and when you start generating the results in your life that you've been talking about for so many years. And so I will digress because I know the driving force for me is if I don't like something and it ticks me off enough, I don't care. Come hell or high water, I'm going to achieve my goal. And that's how I am able to influence other individuals that if they get ticked off enough about what's really, really important, which my focus is on their vision their dreams, their business, the book that they want to publish, or anything that any goal that they want to accomplish. My desire is to help them make that a top priority for them, to the point where that why makes them so high that they won't do anything that will compromise them achieving that goal. So I will
Mm.
punt it to the next.
I'm going to step in for just a moment before we go on to Tiffany. I think that's very true. And I think also we don't know ourselves. And the reason we don't know ourselves is because we're always in our head. We're always trying to be logical. We've been conditioned to just be in our head. It's only when we could get into our heart and, like you said, ticked off. Yes, that's an emotion. So where does that emotion lie? That emotion lies in the heart. That emotion doesn't lie in the head because your head is basically a computer. You could kind of think of your head and your brain as AI, that it could help you out and it could send you in a direction, but without that connection, which is authentically you and what you want to call a human connection, comes from the heart. It doesn't come from the brain. And so when you get ticked off, have to get ticked off and you have to really believe that you're ticked off and really believe that you want to change.
And
So with that,
I'm going to say this too, Teresa. The only way people can become self-aware is stop entertaining yourself with stuff and people. You got to meditate. You got to get quiet, and you have to have alone time. And you have to make that a priority, because if you don't spend alone time, you won't be able to hear yourself. You won't be able to say, I do like this. I don't, because that alone time filters out all that noise. It filters out. We're so quick to occupy every moment of our life with something. Be quiet and be still. And that's the only way folks are going to start really connecting with themselves and really have those moments that are uncomfortable and feeling awkward. That is incredibly important in this season. Quiet yourself to be able to get to know yourself, heal your heart and hear your mind. How is your mind thinking? I think that that's so very, 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 very critical. We have a negative uh, stigma about being by yourself. We call it you're lonely. You don't want to be lonely. So couple women or men are filling themselves with partners that don't match up to them because they are afraid to be lonely. Being alone is not being lonely. It is being able to have quality time with self. There's nothing wrong with that. And we put too much stigma on, if you're by yourself, that means you're lonely. No, it doesn't. This is time for you to catch a movie that you really want to watch, right? Go eat a meal you really want to eat. That no one is going to be telling you that, oh, I don't think you should eat that. No, I don't think you should do that. You shouldn't wear that outfit. Go somewhere by yourself and you will realize that there's nobody there telling you shouldn't, because everybody around you is a stranger. They don't know you. So they're not going to walk up to you and tell you. So being alone is very, very important for us as a society to learn how to say, no, it does not mean you're lonely. I am a single woman and I am not lonely. I don't need a man. Now, would I like to have one? Absolutely, that would be wonderful, but I don't need it. It's not a priority, and I should not be made to feel uncomfortable that I don't have a man, because that is not my pursuit. You're forcing it on me. So when we put people around us, we don't realize that we're putting information and noise constantly around us that doesn't allow us the opportunity to just pause and think on our own about what we want to do. It's just like you're driving and everybody's telling you, no, you need to go that way. You're getting ready to crash because you're trying to take directions from everybody. And when you're alone and you're by yourself, you can quiet yourself long enough so that you can begin to hear what you are saying internally. You're getting a chance to see what your standard yourself is, not what everybody else is influencing. And I just needed to say that because we're at the top of the year, and stop pushing all of this stuff on your agenda. That's not for you. That's why when what was it, back in September, I said, "Hey, I got to have quiet time," right? And I said, "Teresa, are you willing to take over the show and host?" Because I knew the importance of having quality, quiet time. Your best and most creative juices will flow when you are quiet and you're alone. And then you
Yeah.
can come back and get some feedback and everything else, but you need to have quality time by yourself. And we need to stop telling folks about being lonely, because it's not necessarily when you're by yourself that you are lonely.
Yeah. Well, we have two lonely people that are waiting to talk here, and I'm going to pass it now over to Tiffany. So let's get your thoughts. Why don't these resolutions work? Do we engage our heart and our head? What do we do?
Absolutely,
What
absolutely.
do you do to get these changes to work and to be lasting changes?
Well, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm Coach Tiffany Para. I am the girl that helps you get tuned in, tapped into the mind, body, and spirit. I love what you said, Marisa, about just knowing how, like, what makes you tick and what gets you ticked off. I don't set resolutions. I set goals all year. And I go and I hit those goals, and if I don't hit that goal, I have to put that up to that priority. And I just continue to move through the things that I am passionate about. And that's what I help people do as well. I will tell you that one of the biggest things for me has been journaling, and I double journal. I tell my clients to double journal as well, because when you're going through stuff, your body's going to tell you, for one, and your reactions to things. So, again, I'm a health coach, all right? And when things are going all crazy, I eat crazy. You guys
Mm-hmm.
feel that? Write it down. Write down everything that you put in your body. And then write down your thoughts. Take that quiet time, because that quiet time, that moment of just cutting everybody out, is that moment for you to connect to your most high, whoever that is for you. For me, that's God, that's Jesus Christ. That's where I tap in, and that's where I get all the messages that I need, because that's what leads my heart. So, you bring it into the heart. I lead my heart very, very spiritually, very religiously. And when I take that quiet time, when I ask those questions, I get the answers. Sometimes the answers might not be the answer that I want,
Mm-hmm.
but that's okay. I go ahead and I marinate on that, meditate on it, and I move with it. And I get into those uncomfortable situations. When you work out, it's uncomfortable. Believe me, when you hit the gym, because I know there's a whole lot of people that just hit the gym on the second, and your bodies are hurting, and you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore. Even though it was your resolution to do it,
Yeah.
you're not going to do it because you're uncomfortable. Oh, this hurts. Oh, my muscles. Oh, I don't. No, no, just do what you promised yourself you were going to do. And don't do it at the beginning of the year. Do it every single day. That's all
Good
I got.
point. That's a good point that we often think of resolutions. I often say with the holiday season, what the holiday season I think is really trying to tell us is we should be doing that all year round. But yet everybody crams into the holiday season that, oh, now's my time to relax. Now's my time to do this. I'm going to take a hiatus. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take this time for myself. Well, why can't you do that during the year? So I think we have that misconception about the holidays the same way we have misconceptions about resolutions. You
Right.
know, we think that, okay, New Year, we have to do this, we have to do that. But half of the time, we don't even know who we are. And
Mhm.
that's where that journaling, the quiet time, feeling our emotions, that's where all this comes in, because lasting change does not happen by thinking about it, by saying that you're going to do it. Lasting change comes with actually making that commitment, having an action, really feeling it and going through with it. So now we're going to turn to Felicia, who's a new member of our group. She can introduce herself and give us her thoughts on all of this. We can't hear you, Felicia. I hear music. No. Felicia, it may make
Yeah,
sense
we
for
are
you to go out and then come back in if we can't hear you. Yeah, because all we're hearing is music.
we're dancing.
Okay. How about now? Can you hear
Yeah.
me okay now?
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, she's out.
Okay,
She'll
she's
come
gone.
back in. Yeah, she'll come back
Uh,
in. So she didn't have a chance to iron that out before the broadcast started, but that's okay. So again, and getting back to this, we have about 8 minutes here. So it looks like the points that we're making, and I hope people are really listening to this, is number one, your intentions or your resolutions. I don't set resolutions either.
Yeah.
They have to be real. They have to be authentic to you, and it has to be something that you want to accomplish, not something that somebody else wants you to accomplish or
Mhm.
society. And it looks like Felicia's back, so hopefully she's got everything working now.
Hello?
Oh,
Oh, hi. Can you guys hear me okay?
We could hear you now.
Awesome. Sorry, my device is being connected. I think it was connecting to my device near my daughter. But anyway, hello, and thank you guys so much for inviting me. I'm truly honored to be here. My name is Felicia Pelto. I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach, and I have a specialty in hormone health. And so, I guess my insight on this is I would say, honestly, most people are probably in, um, and I can't remember the method or theory of this, but it's essentially when we're thinking about taking an action, we often fall into pre-contemplation first, where we're really like all in our headspace and thinking about it and mustering up the energy and the will to do it. And so, honestly, I say before even like I guess shooting all fire, all cylinders, just to evaluate, just to, as you kind of said, looking at ourselves, the best thing to start with is first evaluating what have we done well in, what don't we like, what hasn't worked, what has worked in the past, and how is that even relevant to now? And I say that because for myself, one of the things that I enjoy doing every year is that evaluation, where I essentially look at these 12 categories in my life, evaluate what's changed from even when I first started this back in 2012, I think is the first time I kind of did this process for
oh,
myself,
nice.
where I think about my beliefs in that process, um, my vision, my promise to myself in that area. Um, there's one more, but I also, it ends with the strategy. Like, how am I going to accomplish that vision that I have in that specific area? And sometimes, I've written it and I realize I didn't do anything with a particular area of my life. And I go, why was that? And it's like when I look back, it's like, okay, maybe for example, this last year, my love relationship, my husband and my marriage took a lot of focus and intention and us discussing and reworking and thinking about the things that we're really passionate about and how our two passions either are aligning or not, or how can we come together at a neutral point to support each other in our passions and goals. Um, because we have a little one now, 3-year old. So that, that changes things. Because when I look back at, having that time and that flexibility and that full freedom besides my relationship to like work out, eat healthy, spend time with friends and family, right now she's kind of taking priority for both of us. And so, having to realign ourselves, because if I just focus on how things are hard sometimes, specifically because of these, big life transitions and changes, right? Like, so a lot of times people think you can still operate the same way you did when you were single and without a child, right? But when you prioritize the right things and you organize life for yourself in a way that you go, okay, this can work. This I can try. And then you just, don't focus on perfectionism, but create a baseline. That's where I was talking about the looking back. Like, okay, I noticed for myself, you know, I used to journal heavily, but now it's hard for me to journal because as a mom, you're interrupted like all the time.
Mhm.
And so now, like, it's almost easier for me to be like, "Hey, Hubs, I need, an hour to work out." And in that workout time, I'm doing yoga for, 30 minutes. Then I'm doing maybe my chill down meditation and like 15 minutes of journaling. Whereas before, I know I'd just sit there and meditate, for like an hour or so and be able to journal, an hour if I wanted to, right? That
Mhm.
time is now shrunk. So I have to be more, I guess, efficient with my time, I'll say. But using tracking apps, one of the things I love is my Garmin. I know where some people are all for tech, some people are anti-tech, but I say when you're like mindful about how you use tech and social media, then it's exciting because then you're gaining wisdom and knowledge. So even with my Garmin and my Apple Health, because I have an iPhone, I love looking at my trends, especially in my fitness area. And it'll even ask me about, now it asks about moods, and it'll even suggest that you journal in there. So sometimes that's my quick way, I'll do a quick voice note. This is how I was thinking, feeling. These are the important things today. And then, so what's nice about that when you use that kind of stuff is that it actually will remind you or bring it up. Time Hop, for example, is something I also have connected to my phone. So it's showing me patterns or things that I've posted years ago, so even recently, that's where it showed me, I think it was 12 years ago, something I think I was at the gym running a 5K, and I was like, I remember that, but again, 12 years ago, right? I was a whole different person 12 years ago. So then I'm thinking to myself like, "Okay, do I wanna still do that or do I not wanna still do that?" Like, the timing of my 5K, I appreciated, and I looked at and I'm like, "I'd love to see how close I am to that,"
Yeah.
um, and get back into like training myself. But at the same time, I'm like noticing my nervous system. Yoga might be really that better thing for me right now, just because of the stress that it can cause. If you're, because again, that head game we've been talking about and the emotions, if it feels like I'm pushing myself and creating stress, I'm building my stress hormones, right? But if it's something that I'm looking forward to and I feel like it calms and relaxes me and helps me be, I guess I'll say balanced mind, less chaotic in the mind, less anxious, then that's really where I'm focused now, because I've got a little person that can kind of strike anxiety in me at moments of unexpected times. And lastly, I'd say after, really evaluating everything and looking at your stats, that's where you can really step out of perfectionism. Because when I was looking at, what is it? The fitness app that's free on the iPhone, and it just kind of keeps those stats as well. It's often saying, you know, looking over like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, it'll look over 90 days, the last 30 days. And so it shows that as a percentage. And so for me, I'll be like, if I'm doing better in the short run versus the long run, I feel proud of myself. If I
Mhm.
notice it says I did it 40% of the time, I can go, oh, well, let me try and do 45% of the time. Like, just that means I just do it maybe 1 or 2 more days, right? And just get better at being consistent with those 1 or 2 more days. So, yeah, that's where I say, it's really that getting to know yourself, as you all kind of echoing back what you guys said, getting to know yourself, but getting to know yourself by looking at that stuff, looking at your numbers, looking at what's worked for you before, and considering how you can adapt to whatever changes are occurring. Because also sometimes I feel like we go through transitions and we're like, I'm gonna, do my best. And we get to this, we're looking at peak performance all the time. And it's like, we don't have to be running on all gears all the time.
No.
That's like burning the candle at both ends. And then when you get sick, you wonder why you go down so hard
Mm.
versus when you're like taking it one step at a time and you're not putting so much pressure, intense pressure on yourself to be perfect. But you're like, you know what? I did good today. I may
Mhm.
not have met every single goal, but I did 80%, and that 80% is still going to push me that much closer, right? Because we know if you increase 1% per day, right, that's 365%. You technically
Right.
Yeah,
There
increased
you
just about
go.
1%
Right.
yeah,
per
Go.
day
yeah.
versus
I think,
trying to be like, I need 100% every day,
yeah. We're running out of time here. It's at
Yep.
the bottom of
Oh,
the
yeah.
half hour here. These are such great conversations. And you mentioned technology. That's actually what we're going to be talking about tomorrow in the Author's Corner, is the use of artificial intelligence with authorship. And there's really a place for it, but there's really some cautions too. So tune in tomorrow, people, because we're going to have an excellent, deep conversation about that. So I think what it comes down to with this conversation is that regardless of whether you call it intentions, resolutions, don't call it anything, that you really have to know yourself and you really have to believe what you want to do and you need to take action on what you want to do. So I hope for all of the people listening to us, we got some good comments in the chat, which were really good. And so I hope for everybody listening and those that are going to listen to the replay that you really take stock of yourself, spend time with yourself, and do things for yourself because you are your first priority. Put your own oxygen mask on first and
Mhm.
then help others. So, with that, I'm going to have Marissa take us out with the video.
Yeah, I'm going to say this one thing. It's called self-evaluation. Assess, observe, address, and move forward. We're out.